Tonight, choppy water.
People on my first ride would look back, and when I got to the part of the tour that was all done by memory, thanking Jesus what he's given me in the Everglades.
After the tragic death of one University of Miami student, lawmakers are cracking down on airboat operators in the Everglades. But some Gladesmen are fighting back. Details on their struggle to stay afloat coming up. Plus, a life-changing diagnosis.
Initially, I didn't even understand what they were saying. It's kind of like in movies when you hear the audio kind of fade away.
One student who has overcome his fight with cancer continues to help others who face adversity. And from singer to pilot.
I wanted to go to school. I wanted to go to college and experience it while I could still have the normal college experience.
You may recognize him from his album covers and music videos, but this breakout musician has traded in sold-out concerts for a bird's eye view. How a former pop star has found his Hollywood ending at the University of Miami.
Beautiful day today, more of the same tomorrow. But a cold front is brewing in the Rockies. How will that impact us here this weekend? And we hit 91 degrees on Tuesday. Can we do that again next week? Stay tuned to find out. NewsVision starts now.
Good evening, you're watching NewsVision. I'm Nate Derenbacher.
And I'm Kate Hovan. Thank you for joining us.
The Everglades National Park is home to some of the most diverse ecosystems in Florida. The area expands over 60 miles wide and 300 miles long, from the Kissimmee River to Florida Bay.
And one of the best ways to experience that vast system is on an airboat, but this has created a lot of problems. We're joined now live by reporter Kelly Saberi, who is in the Everglades. Kelly, why are airboats such a problem?
That's right, guys. I'm here with Captain Jesse Cannon, the owner of Coopertown Everglades Airboat Tour, the oldest airboat rides in the Everglades. It's actually 2 years older than the national park itself. Jesse, how long have you been doing this for?
I learned to drive when I was just a small boy, but I took it over in 1981.
It's super cool because Jesse was actually the person who was at the forefront of writing the bill, the East Everglades Expansion and Protection Act, in 1989. And I got to speak to some people who are being affected by that law still today.
Well, I've been asked many a times what church I go to. I said the Everglades. When I was a tour guide on Sundays, people on my first ride would look back, and when I got to the part of the tour that was all done by memory, thanking Jesus what he's given me in the Everglades.
The Florida Everglades are home to grass marshes, mangroves, wet prairies, and 56 federally listed endangered species. In 2017, over 1 million people came to the Everglades from around the world to experience that unique wilderness and take a ride on an airboat across the River of Grass, as this national park is known. A self-identified group of adrenaline junkies called Gladesmen own their own airboats and consider themselves citizens of the Everglades.
I was born to Coot Bay, Everglades National Park. My folks ran the concessionaire and the fuel pumps for the shrimping fleet out of Cape Sable in 1953.
Although this tour guide may have learned to operate an airboat just recently, a law established by Congress does not allow just anyone to do so.
In 1989, Congress passed the East Everglades Expansion Act, which called for the lifetime phase-out of airboating for personal use. Lawmakers say that airboating affects the delicate ecosystem that they spend billions of dollars on to protect. But for the people who call the Everglades home, this affects their way of life.
The Everglades National Park recognizes only 3 established commercial airboat tour sites: Coopertown, Safari Park, and Gator Park. And while most tourists will tell you why they love the experience,
I've been coming here over 60 years. It brings back memories and childhood days and things like that.
authorities say that airboats are harmful to the environment because not only do the engines burn fuel that gets disposed in the water, But airboats also divert water through unnatural channels they carve through the sawgrass. And as a result,
it has a great effect on the wading birds. And when airboats come through, they're loud and they disturb the habitat.
And negative impact to the environment is not the only danger that airboats are presenting. Last May, Dr. David Goldenberg took his family on a private airboat tour organized by an independent company that is one of many operating without a license. They met at a gas station, and the tour was done without a waiver or any safety instructions. The tour happened the day after the family's elder daughter, Ellie, graduated from the University of Miami's musical theater program. The boat operator lost control of the boat, which overturned, and Ellie was ejected and pinned under the engine where she died. Her parents are now fighting for legislators to pass what's been named Ellie's Law in her honor. The proposal aims at regulating independent airboating.
You can't stand having this. Airboating has been a long-standing, wonderful commercial enterprise in Florida. It's just the way it is. Not only in Florida, but Florida, everyone knows about it. Mm-hmm. But you can't have them commercially doing this and killing people. Can't have it.
There have been over 75 airboat accidents in the past 3 years in Florida, according to the Miami New Times. But despite the dangers, people continue to come to the Everglades every day and ride the airboats. The appeal is just too big.
If you've ever ridden a motorcycle out on an isolated highway where your only real boundaries are the green lines on either side, the grass, imagine adding a couple of more cylinders to it and take away all the green lines. Everything's green. It's the closest thing to flying that you'll get without actually leaving the ground.
For UMTV, I'm Kelly Saberi in the Florida Everglades.
Thanks, Kelly. It's really just a tragic story.
It is, but new regulations may help in making tours of the Everglades safer.
And back here on UM's campus, a University of Miami employee has been fired after making a slew of threatening comments to coworkers. The UM Police Department has issued a community information advisory for Melina Obando. Obando allegedly said that if she had been the Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School shooter, quote, they would have never seen her coming, end quote. On another occasion, Obando was heard whispering, quote, when I start shooting everyone, I am not going to care who asks for forgiveness. I am going to shoot everyone, end quote. She has been issued a trespass warning and was fired on April 2nd. UMPD has asked anyone who sees Obando on campus or at Gables 1 Tower to call their office at 305-284-6666.
And this past weekend marked 1 year since a gunman opened fire at the shops at Merrick Park, right here in Coral Gables. As you can imagine, witnessing such an event can leave a lasting impression on bystanders, which is exactly what happened to one UM student at Merrick Park. I had a chance to meet with her recently.
There were a couple of moments when I thought that my life was over. I was absolutely petrified.
Exactly 1 year ago, Gabby Rosenblum was one of many people out enjoying her Sunday at the shops at Merrick Park when a gunman opened fire at a nearby gym. Abeku Wilson entered the Equinox facility where he worked in Merrick Park and began shooting, killing 2 coworkers and then himself. Wilson was a disgruntled employee who was fired that morning. Gabby says that day changed her, and she's still feeling the effects of the tragedy a year later.
Sometimes I'll forget that it happened. Like sometimes I'll just be able to live my life, and then sometimes a really loud noise will come up and I'll be like, oh my God, it's happening again. And it's really terrifying.
And her symptoms are actually common. Dr. Scott Poland is a nationally recognized school psychologist who teaches at Nova Southeastern University. Dr. Poland has been responding to school shootings for years throughout the U.S., and he's one of the founding members of the National Emergency Assistance Team. He says that the psychological effects of a tragedy like a shooting vary greatly from person to person.
60% of us, no matter how staggering the tragedy, we're going to be okay. 20% we would expect would have minor problems. But sadly, we have to expect 20% would have major problems.
Today, the shops at Merrick Park has returned to the serene shopping center it's always been, but I reached out to management to find out if it really is safer, and while they couldn't disclose safety protocols, they did release a statement for me. It says, "While we are constantly evaluating our security procedures, we cannot disclose the detailed protocols because doing so could compromise our efforts. Please know the safety of our guests and retailers is always of the utmost importance at the shops at Merrick Park, and we are committed to providing a peaceful environment for all who visit our property." And as for victims, Dr. Poland says everyone needs to recognize the length of recovery from these events, and we must all work together to make them feel safe again.
And that it's extremely important when we have tragic events that we understand that our schools and communities are in this for the long haul. It's not something that can be taken care of in a few days.
As for Gabby, she's slowly becoming able to enjoy herself and says she feels safe at Merrick once again.
It's hard not to think about it, but I don't feel like a target.
Dr. Poland also noted that there's no one-step approach to help victims of tragedies recover. Rather, his biggest piece of advice is to never turn down a source of help.
And Miami drivers are notorious for, well, just not being very good. And last Thursday night, one Miami student took that stereotype to a whole new plunge. UMPD responded to a call around 8:30 p.m. last Thursday about a silver Nissan with a Florida license plate partially submerged in the canal by Stanford Circle, laying right on top of the rocks. The Vice President of Student Affairs, Dr. Patricia Whiteley, confirmed that the driver was a UM student. Police say they could not confirm who the driver was, but did say that the driver tried to cut off a car for a parking space. Nobody was injured. Well, Kate, I'm glad to know that nobody was injured in that accident.
Absolutely.
You know, Kate, isn't it really crazy that there's only 2 weeks left in the semester?
It is.
I think I need to go out and enjoy the rest of the sun before I have to head home.
Me too. Dave, how's the weather looking this weekend?
Well, we'll get to that in the main weather, but give you a little spoiler right now. It's not looking too good. Here are your national temperatures right now. Above average readings, summer-like almost in spots. This pink spot, readings in the 90s. 86 in Wichita, 82 in Dallas, 77 Columbus, and 80 in Nashville, so above average. As we pan it towards our area, 82 in Naples right now, 84 in Fort Myers, 77 in Miami, and 79 down there in Marathon. Coming up in main weather, we'll talk about a beautiful end of the week for tomorrow. Some severe weather possible this weekend here in Miami. And could we return to the 90s next week after this week? Guys?
Well, I guess we might have to hold off on the beach.
I guess so, but we've got a lot to get to.
When we come back, a call for action.
What if our mothers, what if our sisters, cousins, friends were in this exact same situation?
How students are coming together to combat a social issue plaguing college campuses.
That and the story of one UM student who overcame the biggest obstacle of his life at just 14. We'll be right back.
We left this bag unattended in the dining hall and set up hidden cameras to see what would happen. It only took 14 seconds. If only it were this easy to spot a thief. Remember, keep it with you. Keep it safe.
If you were on campus this morning, you might have seen t-shirts hanging across the foot crane. No, people weren't doing laundry. They were participating in the Clothesline Project to raise awareness and support victims of domestic and intimate violence at UM. Different color t-shirts hung on a clothesline to symbolize different types of victims and survivors. The shirts also had messages of hope written on them to encourage victims. For UM students, the message is clear.
As a man, it's important because we have to think of what if our mothers, what if our sisters, cousins, friends were in this exact same situation, and what can we do to help them?
Were donated by students and organizations on campus. The project aims to provide survivors with an avenue to break the silence. The original project began with 31 t-shirts.
And the Clothesline Project was not the only event that happened on campus today. This afternoon, men slipped on red high heels and prepared to walk around campus for one initiative called Walk a Mile in Her Shoes. Walk a Mile in Her Shoes is the international march to stop men's violence against women. It's meant to bring awareness to rape, sexual assault, and gender violence. Men and women gathered at the Rock and walked a little under a mile to show their support. Award-winning interior designers Karen Hansen and Laura Rockland spoke to the walkers about the importance of sexual violence education. Both Hansen and Rockland are former victims of rape and domestic violence. The event was organized by the Counseling Center along with other organizations.
And if you walk around the University of Miami campus, you might run into this student. He exudes joy and charisma. Some might even say he's the definition of strong. UMTV reporter Brianna Nesbral sat down with him to see what exactly makes him so strong.
Everyone has a different high school experience. Some people's bodies change, others grow mentally. But for one University of Miami student, his high school experience was unlike many others. Andres Hidalgo was diagnosed with acute lymphocytic leukemia on April 14, 2012. It was his freshman year of high school.
I didn't really process it that well. I guess initially I didn't even understand what they were saying. It's kind of like in movies when you hear the audio kind of fade away.
And I looked at my husband, and my husband had this pure, I would say, scary look in his face. So that's when we realized that it was really, really bad.
Andres spent 243 days in the hospital and another 3 years after being treated. He lost all his hair, 90 pounds, and grew pale. This not only scared him, but his friends as well.
At the beginning, it was really scary. Not just because he was extremely sick and had lost almost 90 pounds and he wasn't who he used to be. It was just the thought of not being able to have your best friend there for you anymore. Him being my best friend meant the world to me.
So his friends stood in solidarity with him. They shaved their heads and started selling bracelets and t-shirts with the letters SSAH, which stood for Stay Strong, Andres Hidalgo. Ignacio's goal was for Andres' family to only worry about their son and not his medical expenses.
I felt like if we had reversed the roles and I was the one that was diagnosed, he'd always do more. So I strived during that time to do as much possible to be there for him and to just raise awareness for what he was diagnosed with and raise money for him because of certain financial situations with his family.
After becoming completely cancer-free on December 12, 2016, Andres made it a priority to give back to the community. He has volunteered at various hospitals and charity events. This year, he was honored as a survivor at Relay for Life.
I felt like it was almost like my obligation to kind of take it as a positive and just show other people how, with the right attitude and mindset, you can get through almost anything.
I see him now and I'm so happy. I'm so happy to see him every day and to see him go to school and to be the person that he is.
And that person is just a normal 21-year-old. Reporting for UMTV, I'm Brianna Nussbaugh.
It's really inspiring to see someone take such a negative time and make it so positive.
Yeah, it definitely puts things into perspective. Sports and weather coming up next. Stay with us.
We taught him how to hit a baseball, how to hit a receiver, the strike zone, the net. You taught him how to hit the upper corner. You even taught him how to hit the open man. But how much time have you spent teaching him what not to hit?
Welcome back. I'm meteorologist Dave Downey here. Looking at the current conditions, it was a beautiful day outside today. Still sitting at 77 degrees. Dew point, not that bad. 59 degrees, making the feels like 79 degrees. Anything under 80 in Florida, especially here in Miami, we will take. Sea breeze still working out of the east at 15 miles per hour. National radar, not a whole lot going on. Got some freeze warnings up here in the northern plains. So some of those temperatures we talked about earlier will be plunging tonight. So the farmers will have to take careful precautions about that. Just some precip in the northeast. That's really it across the national radar. So your grow forecast for tonight, 72 degrees, some clouds. That strong sea breeze is still going to be working in. Winds out of the east between 10 and 20 miles per hour, but overall, Still a pretty good night to go out. Maybe take a jacket if that breeze gets strong enough, but because we're not in the 60s, it would not be a necessity, I would say. Tomorrow we'll call it 81 for the high. Beautiful end of the week. Winds out of east between 10 and 15 miles per hour. The best day probably till at least next Tuesday. So enjoy it tomorrow. Maybe go to the pool, beach if you have time. It'll be a good one. Futurecast. We'll stop here tomorrow morning, 8:45 a.m. Sunny skies still prevailing. That changes. Watch this cold front form here in the Gulf states. There it is. Strongest severe storm is possible. Storm Prediction Center has issued an enhanced risk for this entire area. Tornadoes, hail, damaging winds, all possible. And as we turn it forward into our area, here it is coming through. But because of this timing, Monday, 1:15 a.m., I don't expect that much severe weather. As normally as you get towards the night, severe weather tends to wane off. 7-day forecast, there it is. Chance of rain Saturday, Sunday, into Monday morning. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, though, that's when we get the beautiful weather back. But look at this low Monday night, 58 degrees. But guys, a pretty good week ahead after we get through this hump.
Well, guys, I guess the Sunshine State's not looking very sunny this weekend.
Yeah, it's a good thing there aren't any home games this weekend.
Yeah, hopefully the weather will stay off for the road and Canes should be able to play. At another big week, Cane Andrew Suarez made his Major League debut yesterday for the San Francisco Giants against the Arizona Diamondbacks. Suarez, who played for Miami from 2012 to 2015, pitched 5 1/3 innings with 7 strikeouts, including a strikeout of 5-time MLB All-Star Paul Goldschmidt. Goldschmidt would get his revenge on Suarez and take the rookie deep for a 2-run home run in the 4th inning. Suarez was surrendered 3 runs in the no decision. He is the 54th former Hurricane to make it to the show. Getting back to the current Canes, Miami will lace up the cleats and put on the shoulder pads for the first time in 2018 at Hard Rock Stadium. Mark Richt and the Canes will host their annual spring game on Saturday at 6 p.m. All eyes will be on the quarterback competition between veteran Malik Rozier and freshman N'Kosi Perry. Early enrollees Lorenzo Lingard and Brian Hightower will make their first appearance in the orange and green. UM is coming off a 10-win season that ended with an Orange Bowl loss to Wisconsin. The game is open to the public with gates opening at 5 p.m. The bright lights and crowd make football a spectacle in Miami, but one athlete used the field to get away from chaos. UMTV reporter David Perez has the story of a high school football player who has fought through more than just a tackle.
On the field, Courtney Holmes is a leader.
But that prove wrong, bro.
But Holmes isn't who he is because of a football.
Got him. Got him.
The high schooler's life changed forever at just 9 years old.
I just remember I was just waking up and I heard a lot of crying, and then I just heard like it was a hit and run. So, and then as the day got into it, they just told me that it was my mom. So,
and it was like, oh, your mama got killed. We was like, nah, she just left here. And once we woke them up, you know, they heard us crying and, you know, emotional, and our car hit her and she died on the scene.
As I used to cry in the room, but I really didn't want my brothers to see me cry. I remember one time I was going to class, I remember replaying it all in my head. I just started to break down.
And after moving into his grandmother's house, Courtney found support in his cousins.
Oh, well, they all grew up together. When his mother passed, they were sort of young also.
They was a little closer because they had a little, I was like 16, they was like 18. So being around them really helped me like get a lot of stuff off my mom.
But in the summer of 2016, tragedy struck again when Courtney's aunt's boyfriend snuck into the house with a gun.
I fell back to sleep. Then I heard a gunshot. Then my brother was already up, my little brother. Then we just jumped up, and then I went out the door. Well, I went out of my room. Then the man was standing there. He was looking at me, and I was looking at him. Then he just shot me.
They were saying like, he shot out the house, he shot out the house. And then I was like, what?
I was the third person to get shot. I didn't see my brother get shot. I saw my mom get shot.
As a person to kill people in the house and be like, wow, it's like, what made him trigger it? What happened? You know, why did he shoot?
The motive for the shooting was unclear, but the gunman killed Courtney's aunt and 2 of his cousins.
Standing by myself, just thinking like, this can't be true. That's all I was thinking. This can't be true. I wasn't seeing. I was just seeing like the house and yellow tape and police.
On the football field, Courtney finds his escape And in a playoff game last season, he brought the 4 family members who passed away with him.
So they was driving down the field, and as I was dropping back into coverage, like I just heard my cousin like, "This ball gonna come to you." It was a trick play. I was coming down here, I dropped back, and then when he threw it, I intercepted it. I was on my way to the touchdown, and I heard my cousin, "Go, go, go, go."
He was crying, and I was like, wow, what he crying for? And it made me, as a brother, cry for him. Like, what is he crying for? And after I talked to him, he was like, man, I was thinking about my mom the whole time.
That's very incredible. That someone can be gone and you still keep them here in your heart and in your mind. She'll grab him, kiss him, don't care if she got to look up at him. And now she would have to look up at him because he's tall. Oh man, she would be so proud of him. She would be so proud of him.
David Perez, UMTV.
It's incredible to see someone show that much resilience after such a difficult time.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely a tragic event, but rebounded well.
Absolutely. Well, let's take a look at what's still to come tonight on NewsVision. You may have rocked out to this tune once or twice as a teenager. His band blew up in 2011.
But where is this former musician now? We'll tell you after a short break.
Everybody has a dream. Mine was to see the ocean. And with a little help, I made it.
Living the life of a rock star has its perks, but one singer has decided to take a break from the limelight and pursue their true passion. UMTV reporter Isaiah Kim Martinez tells us how a former band member is living out his dream right here on UM's campus. You may have rocked out to this tune once or twice as a teenager. His band blew up in 2011.
But where is this former musician now? We'll tell you after a short break.
Living the life of a rock star has its perks, but one singer has decided to take a break from the limelight and pursue their passion. UMTV reporter Isaiah Kim Martinez tells us how a former band member is living out his dream right here on campus. Welcome back to NewsVision. We're so sorry we had technical difficulties, but thank you guys for staying with us.
Yeah, absolutely. And be sure to join us next week.
Have a great night.